Hey guys, Non-Zero here, coach of the Pittsburgh Celesteelas, bringing you my Week 4 recap from my match in the MLBA versus the New York Metagross. So this was a huge battle for me for a variety of reasons. One, it's a divisional match, and going into Week 4, I'm 2-1, in a decent position, but winning this would really put me in sort of a great spot looking towards playoffs as we reach mid-season. Also, this is a guy who sort of bodied me in another league recently in the regular season, and so I wanted to exact my revenge, and yeah, so I was quite careful about this game in terms of prep and stuff. I was planning on making a team builder, but I ended up going against it because what I ended up bringing is more or less just really standard. You can see here I brought Diggersby, that's SD Silk Scarf. I brought Rock Polish 3 attacks Terrakion with Rock EMZ. I seem to bring that like almost every game, which is a bit predictable, but it's just so good. I mean, you can see it kind of 6-0s him here, because it has Earthquake, Close Combat, and Stone Edge, the combination of which just hits everything. Okay, we also have Mega Altaria, which also has an opportunity to 6-0 if the conditions are right. Just specs Ash-Gren. This is the first time I actually am bringing sort of the standard specs Ash-Gren. Normally I've just brought some other stuff, but specs Ash-Gren is another mon that puts in a lot of work versus the mons that he brought. Finally, we have here Stealth Rock, Shukaberry, offensive Jirachi, and then Poison Memory Silvally, defensive. That's to deal with Cobalion, and also just to be able to deal with his Umbreon really well, and his Zeraora. Because it's fully defensive, it can take on attacks from the Zeraora, and it can also Toxic Umbreon without being affected by Synchronize. So that's going to be the draft, or the team that we brought for this match. Let's go ahead and see how it played out. So I'm going to lead off here with my Jirachi, my nice and clean 60% as he leads off with his Cobalion. Now turn 1, I just want to sort of scout out what he's going to do. I switch out here into my Poison Memory Silvally as he goes for the Volt Switch. So he gets a bit of switch initiative there, but I'm able to get a parting shot off here. I knew because I had a little bit of Spit F on the Silvally that I would be able to take a Scarf Earth Power, which is why I was willing to risk that turn right there. But I go out here into Jirachi actually, one because I think it's unlikely that he'd go for Earth Power when I have, for example, my Altaria in the back, and 2 because, well, I'm Shukaberry, so even if he did go for Earth Power, it wouldn't do so much. As he sets up a T-Spike, and this turn he switches out into Umbreon as I use this opportunity to get up rocks. He doesn't have a spinner on his team, so his only potential defogger, actually I'm not sure, I don't think he brought a defogger. I don't think Leafeon gets it. But anyways, those rocks are going to be up here to stay, and they mean that his Golisopod's going to have limited switch-ins. In general, his mons are going to be worn down, which is exactly what my Ash-Gren wants to see. I mean, as it is, nothing on his team survives 2 specs Hydro Pumps, even when Greninja's not in Ash form. So I'm going to be clicking Hydro Pump more or less immediately, as soon as this Umbreon's weakened a little bit. And so I was really glad to see him switch it in there. I was able to get that U-turn chip off, and he goes for the Baton Pass, getting switch initiative. But the great thing about my Silvally is that the only thing that really deals with it is this mon in front of me, and I can always parting shot against it. So this time I'm actually going to go out into my Greninja. Even a Thunderbolt wouldn't have done so much to me, and I don't think health matters that much on Greninja, because for the most part it's going to be outspeeding everything. Obviously I'm not going to be staying in on Golisopod anyways, because first impression's a one-shot, and in general this mon's not supposed to take hits, so I knew I'd be able to take any one hit after the -1 there. And I have an opportunity here just to throw off a Hydro Pump, and you see how much it does to the Leafeon. So he has nice tech here, which is the Citrus Berry, allowing him to live 2 after rocks. Because of that Citrus Berry, otherwise I probably would have stayed in and clicked Hydro Pump again. But because of the Citrus Berry, I think it's now, depending on his investment, either a roll not in my favor, or just straight he lives 100%. And so obviously I'm not going to risk that. Greninja is very important. I go out here into my Mega Altaria. I think it's sort of unlikely that he can touch this. I mean, he might be packing Hinbar Ice, but even that wouldn't do too much. As I just go for the Dragon Dance here, and he goes for a Baton Pass. So I know I can take any one hit from this Cobalion if it is Scarf. I mean, if it's like Corkscrew Crash or something, then I can't, obviously. But assuming it was Scarf, which is what I'm thinking the reason he went into it, because of the Scarf, I figured at this point, if I just get Earthquake damage off on the Cobalion, right, and it locks itself into Iron Head, then my Greninja can just go ham, because it'll more or less knock everything out, and the game looks pretty good from there, because when it's Ash Greninja, it'll have Specs Water Shuriken, which does kind of what Specs Hydro Pump does when Greninja's in regular form. But in any case, that's all assuming I don't flinch, and yeah, I flinched. So that's an issue, but it's not like I've lost the game. My matchup, as I mentioned earlier, is really, really good, so I can afford some hacks against me. I go out into my own flincher, my nice 60%, just to get off a slow U-turn, because I know it'll be able to take the Iron Heads pretty well. And I go out into this mon to get a slow parting shot off. Actually, okay, yeah, I didn't parting shot that turn. Because he had stayed in versus the Jirachi to click Iron Head, I decided to go for the Flamethrower there. In the worst case, it gets damage off on something like Umbreon or this Nidoqueen, which again is just really good news for Terrakion and potentially my Mega Altaria in the back. So I'm just going to go ahead and parting shot like I can versus this mon. Back out into Jirachi. He hasn't popped my Sugar Berry yet, so I'll be able to take the Earth Power really, really well, you can see. And I'm just going to go here for the Heart Stamp. So I get a little bit of revenge. Obviously it's Jirachi, so it's, you know, a pretty good chance to flinch anyways. And I just stay in to click the Heart Stamp again. Not really predicting anything. The reason I didn't go for Iron Head on the previous play is because, well, I didn't have it. This is Toxic U-Turn, Hard Stamp, and Stealth Rock is the set that I'm running on this Jirachi. So I'm going to go ahead and get some more. Actually, no, I try a Toxic here. And it's really, really unfortunate that I miss my Toxic, because getting the Umbreon worn down would have been amazing for later, as we'll see. And maybe it carries Heal Bell, so maybe it wouldn't have been that big a deal. But in any case, I am able to get some U-turn damage off. I go out here into my Savali Poison. Kind of expecting his Baton Pass, because, once again, he doesn't have really much that can deal with this thing 1v1. He does get an unfortunate crit that turn. Unfortunate because it kind of lessens the survivability of this mon. But to be fair, I mean, Savali's put in all the work it needs to this game. It's able to get a parting shot off here after Toxicking the Zeraora, and I just switch out into my Jirachi here. To get off, I think, a slow U-turn is what I did. Yeah. Because my idea of all this was to put the Zeraora in range of Water Shuriken from Greninja, sort of forcing him to go out into Leafeon here, or Umbreon, and having either of those weakened is amazing for just Greninja later. So here I'm going to pull the switch into my Mega Altaria as he goes for Baton Pass. Now, yeah, okay, so the reason I pulled the switch into Mega Altaria there is because if he stayed in, then I'd be able to roost off and sort of get my Mega Altaria back. And if he switched, then he wouldn't be recovering and be low for Greninja later. So it's kind of a pick your poison scenario for him. But he did pull the baton pass play, going out here into Zeraora. And as you see, I sacked my Celesteela. Now, a Plasma Fist wouldn't have KO'd, a Close Combat wouldn't have KO'd, but I didn't want him pulling some shenanigans like this. I kind of guessed that he was Z-move based on earlier damage, because it wasn't banded, it wasn't boosted, and probably it wasn't Scarf, and I didn't want my Mega Altaria going down. It can still put in a lot of work. You can still roost off versus the Leafeon, the Umbreon, and potentially the Glacepod. So he goes out here into his Cobalion as I go into my Diggersby. Now the reason I went for Diggersby here, I was pretty sure that he would go into his Cobalion, but I figured that I would just stay in and click SD here. The reason being, if he goes for the Iron Head play, or maybe I went for Earthquake, I forget which play I made here, but in either case, my idea was that if he stayed in, close combated me, and one-shot me, then he'd be locked into close combat, and I'd get my Mega Altaria back. And as we see, that's exactly what happens. Now, if he Iron Head flinched me down, that would have been unfortunate. That would have put me in a bit of a sketchy position. Although in that case, I guess I go out into Greninja, click Hydro Pump, and hope that I don't get flinched or that I don't miss. But here we see I do get my Mega Altaria back. I'm able to just click Earthquake on this Nidoqueen. I don't want to, Dragon Dance up. There's no point because he's got Scarf Cobalion on the back. And also Sludge Wave would probably knock me out. As he goes into it to Revenge Kill me, and I just switch into my Drachi, which is another one that's done all it needs to do this game so far. I believe I U-turn out here. So yeah, I'm not sure why he switched out his Cobalion at that point. I think his win condition, to be honest, is his Cobalion just flinching everything down. So if his Cobalion manages to flinch down my Greninja, for example, then it can just win at this point. If it just stayed in and kept clicking Iron Head. But because he switched out into Leafeon, able to U-turn out, and now, and this is huge, I get Ash-Gren. The reason Ash-Gren is huge is because Water Shuriken is now probably a 2-hit KO on Cobalion, which is amazing, meaning that if Cobalion's locked into Iron Head, I can beat him down with my Ash-Gren. In any case, I switch here into my Mega Altaria. It's not the biggest deal if he predicted me and goes for the Poison Jab, which Poison Jab plus Aqua Jet I think had a chance to kill. But Altaria was just sort of the safest play. I see now that I can win if I ever get my Terrakion in versus his Umbreon. I can also win just in general with my Ash-Gren. So here he goes out into his Cobalion as I just threw off a return. There is no reason to Dragon Dance up there versus the Glacepod, because return put it in range of emergency exit anyways, so it would never be able to Poison Jab me. And return also got off some great damage on this Cobalion, putting him in range of Water Shuriken, so that now my Ash-Gren really can just win. So I go out here and just sack my Drachi, which once again has done all it needed to do this game. I don't know what I went for there, probably just U-turn or something. And I go out here into my Ash-Gren, and here I'm just going to click Water Shuriken. I don't want to choke and go for Hydro Pump because it could miss and he might stay in and try to flinch me down. I don't want any of that to happen, so I just go for the Water Shuriken, which did knock out Cobalion from that range. Unfortunately, I know that after a Protect, it's not going to be able to knock out this Umbreon. Or even just in general, it's not going to be able to knock out this Umbreon 100% of the time. We saw that it did around 31% previously, and so I think it was probably a roll or something to knock him out. But I made the relatively safe play of switching into Terrakion here. The reason being that even if he clicks Foul Play, and Foul Plays me twice as I Rock Polish up, I'm still out of range of Aqua Jet. So the only thing that he could do at that point was hard switch out, predicting my switch to Terrakion. But if he'd done that, then he was in range of Water Shuriken. Water Shuriken could have just cleaned up after that. So as it happened, he instead is going to, I think, Baton Pass as I Rock Polish. And his only hope here is that I'm not rocking him, and that like I miss Stone Edge. And but in fact I am rocking him. Even a crit Aqua Jet wouldn't knock me out, thankfully. And I'm able to deal with him with this Continental Crush. And the rest of his team falls to close combat. So Terrakion able to clean up here in the end. And that's going to be a good game. So the Celesteelas pull it off, and we get a 3-0 victory, meaning that we're 3-1 after this week with a differential of +7. Puts us at a nice pole position in our division, and really just a great position in general in the league. Like I was really skeptical when I first drafted this team that it might not be that solid. It doesn't have the best defensive resources, but so far it's been putting in a lot of work. So I look forward to seeing how it's going to continue to thrive. Hopefully I'm able to use Torkoal a bit more because I love that mon. But in any case, that's going to be it for now. See you guys later. This has been Non-Zero, coach of the Pittsburgh Celesteelas, signing out. Peace.